Have this for history. Okay, so here we begin. Welcome everyone. I think your hips, lower back, and hamstrings are gonna like this practice today. Yeah, I was just saying to Faye, and this was kind of what came to my meditation today is just this idea of really staying in the present moment at all times in my life, trying not to think about the future, trying not to dwell on the past. So that's kind of where my focus is if I'm thinking about meditating or anything like that. So I'm just going to go down a little bit as we start. Yeah, so as we close our eyes today, let's do that. Let's move our fleshy tissue, connect with our sit bones, find that neutral pelvis. You know, sometimes I need to roll a little bit back and forth just to find that neutral pelvis. And then think about lifting the armpit chest. And here's another little cue that I haven't used that much, but think of the back of your armpits, the back armpit, and draw that a little bit forward. That helps widen and broaden through the chest. We always think about lifting, but there's the back body comes forward as the front body sits back. And then lengthen through the top of your head and draw your eyelids closed and your eyeballs sort of back, looking inside your body. Anybody ever used to watch Magic School Bus with their kids? One of my favorite shows, so educational. But remember the Magic School Bus used to take a ride inside the body. And sometimes when I'm visualizing, you know, health in my body, I imagine this sort of magic school bus going through. And as it goes through all the internal organs, even down to the pelvic floor, you know, just seeing health and well-being, healthy organs. That's the thing you miss when you don't have young kids anymore. You don't get to watch all those shows that were so good, you know, and educational. Kratz Brothers about animals. The Friendly Giant. That's from our era. Okay, so we're sitting, we're breathing. Focusing on the inhalation and exhalation. Your hands to your heart. Think of 3 things that you're grateful for today. And then today we'll add on to that, those 3 things that you would like to see happen in your day today. And it can be something as simple as, you know, hug from your husband, or a call from a friend, or I want to go out for a walk today. Just 3 things that you would like to see happen in your day today. Focus on your breath, focus on the physical body. And then bring your hands down to your lap and slowly open your eyes. So, I try to think about this when I start my day, when I open my eyes in the morning. You know, how do I want to start my day? It's part of that 6-phase meditation. And then at night, I was saying to them on Monday night, okay, when you go to bed tonight, think of 3 things that you accomplished today. Think of 3 things that made you feel good. It's good to end your day on a positive note. And if you didn't accomplish anything, you know, there's always something, you know, I ate dinner, you know, like, you know, that's good. So think of 3 things, end your day that day. So you actually setting up your mind. This is from Daniel Amen, the famous, he's a doctor, neurologist, and he says that this primes your body to begin positive in the morning. And then when I wake up in the morning, it's like something amazing is going to happen today. 3 things and start my 6-phase meditation being grateful and what I want. So anyways, that's one of the ways that I stay centered and with it emotionally. I just have to go back always to my techniques. And physically, it's the same thing. Physically, we need to stay the course. We need to keep doing the things that help us stay fit, keep us in the parasympathetic, help us deal with cortisol. If we don't, when we fall off the wagon, we see how our moods and our mental feelings, even that, I feel like people, when they drop off the wagon, they're always talking about how old they're getting, that type of thing. Okay, so enough talk, let's get on to it. We're going to start today with, I did this whole routine, of course, and I'm going to change it right off the bat. We're going to start off with butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. So soles of the feet together, but the lying down variation. So, because I want to work inner groins today, hamstrings. So feet are pushing in together. And although we're lying, the pose is not active. Sorry, the pose is active. It's not a relaxed pose. I want you to push the outer edges of the feet together. I want you to draw the sacrum and the glutes up towards the ceiling and engage the lower core, pubic bone to belly button, draw that up. Have that natural curve in your back and keep pushing the outer edges of the feet together. So the baby toe side of your feet together. And you can experiment with how far or how close your heels are to your pubic bone. Further away feels totally different, closer up feels different again. And if you feel like it's, oh, this is already hurting my hip, then please support under your knees. Now squeeze the outer hips together. On Monday night, and if anybody wants that link, I can send it to you. On Monday night, we did a class where I had them put a belt around their hips and squeeze the block in the inner thighs. And then we did a variety of poses with that happening. So pretend you have a belt around your hips and squeeze the outer hips together to keep the femur bones in the sockets. And how does that change what's going on right now? And then focus on your breath and just be really aware what is going on in the hip area. Where are you feeling tenseness and where is there light and opening? And oh yeah, that feels really great. We don't always want to recognize what is wrong with our, what's inhibited, or what wrong is just not the right word, but what's stuck. We also want to recognize what is opening. And this is also very good for our pelvic floor, speaking of opening and relaxing. Now, you're going to push the soles of your feet into the floor, and you're going to lift the pelvis off the floor. So I'm lifting here off the floor. Still really working the outer legs. I'm going to hold for like 5 and then slowly release back down. We're going to do that again. Push into the soles of the feet, the outer edges push down, the hips lift up. And it's kind of interesting. You might feel your body rocking to one side or the other. Be aware of that. And then exhale and release down. And then third time, one more time, see if you can lift up a little higher and see how that works for you and what you're feeling there. And then exhale and release. Use your hands to draw the legs together. And then we're just going to do a little windshield wiper. So, and this is really just a primer for a few of the next poses we're going to do. But again, go slow. And as you drop your right knee, bring that knee away from your right shoulder. So you get length in the cross the body, the side body. So left knee comes down and I pull it away from my left shoulder. So just not whipping my legs around, although, there's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes those kind of movements are really excellent for you. And then let's just go a few more times. And again, just pausing at the end of the action to make sure that you get a little fascial stretch in the pose. Good. And then release and grab your belt. So you'll need I've just noticed I'm kind of like, I've got a grayish blue mat. I've got the same kind of colored pants on. And I just noticed that I've got a maroon mat and maroon shirt on. So I hope you can see me and I'm not like camouflage. I've disappeared. Okay, so we're going to take the strap into a nice loop and we're going to place it on our right foot. We're going to stretch the hamstrings. So start always with the knee bent towards the chest and then activate the foot, push through the ball of the foot and the heel and slowly straighten the leg. Now, as soon as you do that, tune into your kneecap and make sure the kneecap is active, drawing up. And then the second thing I like to do is draw into my right hip. So my outer side, I'm actually going to turn around so you can see. I'll even go a little closer to you. So maybe this wasn't the greatest thing to wear today. So the right hip pushes this way. So I'm pushing my right hip towards my left foot. And don't hold your head up like I just did. Keep your head down. And you can actually even gently press the back of your head into the floor to help release tension in the neck. We're going here first into the hamstring. We're going to breathe into the hamstring. And we're just going to, this is like maintenance. We should be doing this every day. Yeah, it's kind of the analogy, being like, would you keep throwing things in your spare room? And actually I have done this in the past, but you keep throwing things in a room. Let's say it's not your spare room. Let's say it's your bedroom. And then eventually you can't get in there, right? And that's what we do kind of to our body. We keep throwing things at it and we don't clear it out. And this is why the yoga practice is so good, because it clears out. You can't just keep putting junk in. You gotta clean it up at some point. So that's what we're doing a lot of times in yoga. We're cleansing. Okay, so we've got this hamstring. We focused on the back of the leg. That's where we want to stretch. Now we're going to take the leg out to the side. Always remember, you guys, we've done this so many times. I'm always telling you the left hip has to stay down. So there's no lifting of the hip as we go into this pose. I just thought of something. I can change my mat color over to the green. Oops, there, all my papers just went flying. I do have cheap papers. Okay, so that's good. Now I'll be more of a contrast. Should have thought of this before. I could even do this way, although I never use this pink side. Okay, there we go. Now I'll be more of a contrast when I'm on the mat. Okay, so we're doing that, bringing the leg out to the side. You guys probably did that while we were going. And now bring it slowly back and let's just take it down towards the floor. The third variation isn't going to be as helpful for us today, really. So next we'll do the other side. So we're doing the left side, bend the knee into the chest. Push through your right foot, keep your pelvis neutral. In other words, don't let the pubic bone come up towards your head. And again, take your leg straight now, activate the knee. And if your leg isn't straight, release some of the belt and get it straight. Let's just do this pose with a straight leg today. And then you're going to, again, breathe into the hamstring, push your left hip towards your right heel. So there's this little, make sure that you've got this little bit of a, it's actually slight external rotation of the leg. Push up into the ball of the foot and the heel. And here we go. Now we'll take the leg out to the side. And again, and I didn't mention this on the other side, but pretend you have that belt around your hip. Draw the hips in as you take the leg out. You can even put a block there as a reminder. Let me show you that as a reminder to keep that hip in. So if I just put a block right here, then I can take my leg out, and that's just a reminder to keep that hip in. Take my hip away from the block as I come out to the side. Be active in the foot. Make sure your pubic bone is not rolling up. Think of all the little cues that we usually use. Kneecap engaged. Try again, if your knee is bent today, to release the belt a little bit and go straight legged. We want a straight leg if possible today. with this pose. Good. And then come on back and draw the leg down. Okay. So come on up to standing now. And I'll move my blanket away. So we're going to take some big steps. And ideally, we would have a lot of space, like a big room, like our loft. And we're going to take a right big step as if we're going into lunge. We're going to drop the back knee. And then we're going to inhale and lift our arms up like this. And then we're going to come out of that pose and take another big step and drop the knee. Good. And then ideally, if I had more room, I would take another step, but I have to turn around. Okay. What I'd like to make sure is that you're doing right, left, right, left. So I'll start off with my right, take a big step, drop down, lift up, and then come and take another step with your left. And again, I have a little, I'm kind of off camera here, but I have another step on the side to take 3. So good. And then we're going to turn around and do it again. All right. So left step, whoops, sink down. You can even drop almost like that back knee. Make sure you're keeping your body forward, reach up and back, and then take another big step. Probably if you're upstairs in your bedroom and there's people downstairs that probably think, what the hell is going on there? Clodhoppers, right? But here we go. Take another big step. And there you go. Whoa. All right. And then I'll go back and do it again. So, ideally, we could do this like 10 times. We won't today just for the sake of time, but this would be really great. Big step. Don't even worry if your knee comes over a little bit, and then, or even a lot. Actually, the more it comes over, the deeper that means you're going. And your weight is back. So the big mistake that people make when they're doing this is that they're coming forward, but I want your body to go back. And that's why we're doing this lifting up and arms back. Okay, so one more. And then hopefully that is equal on both your left and right side. So if you're like me, you're probably huffing and puffing a little bit. It's always difficult too for me to talk at the same time that I'm doing this. Okay, so the next one that we're going to do is we're going to take our right foot in front and our left foot back, and we're going to square the hips. This one is static. We're staying in the spot, but there's movement, and the movement is the inhale up, all right, and exhale, hinge forward and come forward over that leg. Inhale up, come back, tailbone down, exhale forward. And we'll do this, I like to do it, let's do it 5 times. I'm always doing even numbers. Let's do an odd number. So that's 3, inhale up. Maybe it's only 4 for you guys, if you were watching first, and then coming down. And then inhale up, so I'll do 1 extra. And come down. And inhale up. And come down. Good. Bend your knees together, and we'll do the other side. Okay, so now you're going to take your left foot forward and square your hips. Keep the heel down. Inhale, lift up. And remember, when you lift up, you're drawing the belly in and up as well. So we're bringing some heat to the body on this beautiful Wednesday morning where it's beautiful and sunny out. They called for rain all week, and it's so nice that it's beautiful out. Okay. And we reach, and now we come down, exhale over the front leg. Inhale, come on up. And exhale over the front leg. Inhale up. And exhale down. Inhale up. Get tall. It's like you're doing a mini back bend there at the top by the shoulder blades. And then one more, up And one more down. Good. All right, so that was totally exhausting. All right, so next, you're gonna need a large roll. And it's better to use a yoga mat rolled up, something a little firm. But if your yoga mat, like, see, I have a big rubber mat and this one's really thick. I like thick mats because I have very sensitive feet. But if you have a thinner mat, then take your blanket and put it inside. You can actually keep it on the big side here and then roll it up because you want a lot of height here. And you want it to be spongy, actually, you know, so, or maybe, and so now mine's so huge, I'm gonna actually only do it halfway because it's huge. But if yours is not huge, you want a nice cushy amount, okay? All right, now what you're going to do is you're going to take your two blocks out in front, and you want, you know, good, nice, solid blocks out in front so that you can place your hands on them. I am going to come, you know, you don't have to see my whole body for this. I'm going to come down here. Can you guys see that? Maybe even, no, too close doesn't work. Okay, so I'm going to go about here. And what I want is to put my feet on this. Eventually, I'm going to go like this, right? But I'm going to start by taking my hands down to the blocks, and I'm going to put my feet on top of this roll. All right. Now, the first thing you'll see is that my hips are behind my heels, and that is actually what I want in this variation. And then what I'm going to do is keeping my hips by heel, I'm going to take my toes down to the floor. So you see how I'm kind of rolling? And if you don't have an extra, well, you can use your roller mat. You don't really need an extra one. But you can also do this with blankets. Just the rolling doesn't work as well. Now you'll notice I'm rolling forward, and I want to feel a stretch in the top of my foot here. And then as I feel that stretch, I begin to lift my toes up. I come to neutral with toes up. Okay, activating the arch of my foot. And now I try to slide back down. You're going to feel the stretch in the calf, maybe all the way up to the hamstring. Okay, and my hands are on the block. And then I roll again, stretch the tops of my feet, push back, roll the bottom of my feet, roll forward and back. You see what I'm doing? Yeah. Now, eventually what I like, and I have to shift my feet a little bit, is the heels to come down to the floor. And as the heels come down to the floor, I want to take that butt that was hanging out behind and line up the heels and the sit bones. So here I've got, let's just rest a bit in this. And my calves are very tight. So this is like, yeah, big. And then I'm going to roll again. Now I'm going to roll my heels down. And stretch the tops of my feet and then go back to the calves. Now walk your feet down enough so that your heels touch the floor, but you still have your feet on the bolster. Now look or feel what's your sit bones, are they in line with your heels? As you lean forward here, you're going to feel your back of the legs. I mean, my calves are just like talking to me. And rest on the block. Now, think about your spine too. Draw your spine down towards the floor. I was teaching, I think it was in my seniors class, but it could have been you guys last week, about how when you push your hand into the block, I mentioned it on Monday as well, you release the spine. You release tension in the spine. Lift your sit bones up. Is everybody feeling a big stretch? I hope so. Now, think about how active your kneecaps are. They're lifting. Your little section here is lifting, right? That what I call the second kneecap or above the kneecap. Yeah, and I'm really observing how different both of my knees are as I look at them. Even through my tights, I can see that. And the sit bones are driving up. Okay, good. And then step off your roll and come on up to standing for a second. All right, so because we already did the hamstrings, now we're doing the calves. We're going to go back into that forward bend, but without the roll. So you can just roll your mat back out if you would like, or just be on your floor. And then find that same alignment again. So we're going to hinge at the hips. We're going to bring our hands to the block, and it's so true. It's very easy for our bodies to collapse down, and going down is easy. Lengthening and going down with control a bit harder, right? So find where you can keep the back nice and straight. Maybe you have to be up even on a chair. Lengthen through the spine. Engage the core, squeeze those outer hips. Again, it's like you have a band around your hips. Lift your sit bones, right? And then bend the elbows and see if you can come down a little further. And again, don't let your hips come too far forward or too far back. Keep that connection between the heel and the sit bone. In fact, that was our theme on Monday night as well. We took the outer hip and we drew it down to the outer heel. Outer hip, draw it down. Now, at the same time you're doing that, draw your inner groins up. Lift your inner groins up towards the pubic bone. It's working instead of the front and back leg, we're working the side and the inner side. That's kind of what we were doing on Monday. Okay, come on up and come on up to standing. Now we'll take a little wider stance. You're going to be a little wider than your hips, maybe not quite to the edges of your yoga mat. Depends how tall you are. Hinge at the hips, come forward and let your head drop. So I'm starting off with bent knees because I want my abdomen on my thighs. But then eventually what I would like to do is lift my sit bones and lengthen and straighten behind the knee. Like even if you have a little micro bend, try to work that out. Activate the legs the same way you did in your last pose on the blanket roll. Those kneecaps lifted up and the legs were engaged. Good. And then come on out. Now we'll take the feet together and we're going to lift up the back leg as we go into Uttanasana, because it's called a standing split, but most of us can't do the split standing, so nor sitting, but that's kind of where we're going for, right? Okay, so we're going to hinge at the hips and we're going to place our hands on the blocks again, or on the floor if that works better for you. And I want you to lift your left leg up. And the action has to come from the quad and the heel. You have to push the quad back. And then you have to lift the heel up. And you want to try to keep the hips nice and centered. So in other words, don't lift one hip up higher than the other. You should be able to put a teacup on your sacrum. I always talk about that. And then try to get you can walk your hands back and try to get your head closer to your shin. Now, if your head is coming somewhere in your thigh or your knee, that means that there's not that lengthening in the body. So go back, lengthen the body, and then come back. So remember I said it's so easy to come down, without control. And then bring that leg down. Come on up to standing and just find Tadasana, because I find it's a pretty intense pose. And with this weather shift, I have found that my sinuses are been talking to me. So the upside down, I can kind of feel it a little bit in my head. Okay, so I draw back onto my heels. We're going to do the other side. Hinge forward. Find that straight back. Place your hands on the block. Think of lengthening your breastbone forward, lots of space between your pubic bone and your breastbone, lots of space in the side body. Before you even go any further, now lift the right leg up. I think we did the left before. Make sure you're not tilting the hips like I'm just doing now. That's not what you want. You want to be able to put your, if you feel your sacrum, is it level? And then take your hands off the block or walk your blocks closer. Squeeze the outer hips together. Draw the belly in and up. Keep that length and see if you can get your head to go closer to your shin. That's what you're aiming for, not knee. And then bring that leg back. And come on up to Tadasana again. Okay, let's do downward dog. So again, mat adjustment, set adjustment. All right, come down onto the floor. Now I'm warming up the body here. And so we're going to start with downward dog, and we're going to focus on thighs back, lengthen the side body. Make sure your hands are really pressing into your yoga mat. And let's go. So pushing hands into the mat, bring the hips back. Come on up. Keep the heels up high, keep the knees bent. Get that length in your spine. And then and only then, start straightening the legs. The last thing to happen is the heels drop to the floor. And then as you're in your downward dog, focus on the inhalation and exhalation. Now, what I'd like you to do, if you have room, is bring that left leg up, bend the knee, and rotate that foot. You're taking your left foot. So I brought my left leg up. Maybe you brought your right foot up. Let me do the right side because that's usually what you guys do. Right foot up, bend, and then the right comes over to the left side. And now I'm opening psoas, just preparing for the future poses that we're going to be doing. Okay, bring your leg down, bring your left leg up, bend the knee towards the buttocks, and let the foot fall to the right side. This is psoas, buttocks is engaged, but I'm also getting into my downward dog. Okay, and then come on down. Whew. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our blocks out in front. And again, this is a warm-up. I'm going to do some movement. I'm going to go from upward dog to downward dog. But before I do that, or before, like, to make sure I'm ready for that, I'm taking my blocks and I'm going to take the hands out like this. So the fingers are pointing outward to the short edges of your mat. And we're going to go into upward dog. And as we do upward dog, just watch me for 1 second. We do never want to go into upward dog with this rounded upper back. So we have to prepare by bringing the breastbone forward. And in fact, if you don't feel like you can go in the whole pose, you could just practice this, lifting forward, pushing into the blocks to lift yourself away from the blocks. But if you feel like you can go further, you can extend your legs further back, maybe even just do that. Okay, so you can extend your knees back a little bit and then bring the hips closer, or you can even go on the tops of the feet. Draw your hips up towards the block, push in, don't be sagging like this. You want to push in and draw the belly up, the breastbone up, the collarbones up, and then exhale and release. Okay, now take your hands so that they're facing this way. And I use the heel of my hand on my block. This is why it's nice to have firmer blocks. And then let's go back into downward dog. All right, and then come down on the knees, shift the hands outward, push into the block. Again, you can start just doing this, or you can start doing this. Doesn't matter. What you don't want is this rounded back. And you can either be on the toes or on the tops of the feet. Draw the hips forward, lift up. Exhale, release, shift your hands the other way on the blocks, and then exhale and downward dog. All right, and we'll do that one more time. I'm going to come to my knees, shift my hands outward, lift. This just creates an external rotation in the arms, which we need for the pose. Upward dog, lifting, lifting, lifting. Exhale, release, and downward dog. Woo! Thighs back, hands pushing forward onto my blocks, and it's lovely. Come on down. Good. All right. So next, I know a lot of you probably don't have multiple sets of blocks, but if you do, we're going to put one under our left knee, and then we're going to use our 2 blocks out in front. So I do have a variety of blocks here. If you do not have, actually I'm going to use my little thing back here. If you do not have a block, put your back knee on a pillow. Well, no, not a pillow, maybe book, a couple books. That would work really well. Just anything to elevate the back leg. And we're going to go into lunge pose with the back knee on the block. And again, foot should be flat down, but it's all going to depend on, now I realize I have to put it on the low side. It all depends how high your block is. You might not be able to put the foot down, and in which case you can feel free to roll the toes under. Your right foot's going to come forward, and we're going into lunge pose. So find the proper alignment of the front leg. That ankle and knee are right supporting each other. The ankle is right underneath the knee so that the knee is in the right place. And then square your hips and push your back foot in, or curl your toes and push your toes down into the floor. That will activate. And then try to go up as high as you can so that your pubic bone can come up and that you're not leaning forward over the leg anymore. You're now drawing the body back. That's kind of what we need in every one of the poses that we're doing today, this drawing of the body back. Okay, so, and how does it feel? I want you to focus on this back leg. How does your back leg feel with the block underneath it? And again, if you have a higher block, probably feels even different. Now, engage the core. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to straighten this front leg, and we're going to take our blocks behind us. Again, remember, it's easy to go down, but can you lengthen first? So we're going to bring the collarbones in front, and then we're going to place our hands on the blocks behind. We might need a little higher, and I'm going to push my hands away from my head. Keep my breastbone up. And if that's difficult for you, puts too much pressure on your knee, just use the hands out in front. Good. Now you're going to bend that knee. So I'm still working on my right side. Now I'm going to take my blocks to the inside. I'm going to walk my right foot, just I'm going to show you. I'm going to toe step it over to the side, and then I'll have my blocks here. And if I am so inclined, I might be able to bring my elbows down to my blocks. Now, first, in this first variation, your ankle and your knee are in alignment. So I'm not letting the leg come out to the side, but I'm coming down in between, and I am pushing that back foot, either toes pushing down or the top of the foot pushing down. Then I'm going to isometrically try to drag that back leg forward. So I'm trying to do this with the back leg, bring it forward isometrically on my block. And then I'm going to take my knee and I'm going to let it drop out to the side. That's the right knee. Okay, so I'm going to turn around actually and show you that. Still working the right side. So here, I'm letting the knee come out this way as I'm down here. Notice I don't let my foot sickle, never sickle the foot, ankle. So you want to keep the foot engaged. I'm lifting my toes even to do that. My arch is engaged. Woo, that's a big stretch for me today. Good. Now I'm going to come up. I'm going to place my left hand on the block. I'm going to bring my right hand to my right hip, and I'm going to rotate through the chest, draw my head back so it's in alignment with the rest of my spine, and maybe even take my arm up. It's a twist, right? And my knee was out to the side, but I could bring it back. That would actually, I think, be better for my knee. And then come on back. Whew. All right. Now, that's the right side. And I forgot to say, for those of you who have knee issues, so hopefully you can do that whole sequence not having the knee on the floor. You can lift the back leg. Okay, so now we're going to do the left side. So now I will turn around again, and we're going to start with my left leg forward, the block on my right knee, under my right knee, and there we go. Foot down, If I can, if your block's not too high, you can get the foot down, otherwise curl the toes under. So we start off in this traditional lunge pose, except for the knees on the block. And then we're going to, of course, push this foot down, the back foot down, and we're going to drag it forward if we can. And then, like I said, we want to come up higher. So we're going to come up higher. And now we're thinking body back, sacrum forward, hip forward, but the body back, the body back, the body back. And think of those walking lunges that we did. And we had that little back bend in the upper back, or that extension, I can even call it. It wasn't really a back bend. Okay, so we've got that. So hopefully you're feeling this hip. You're using the actions. If you push your front heel towards your buttocks, you know, you get that as well. And then I believe we straighten the leg next. So we're straightening that front leg. And we brought the blocks back. Get the length first here. Then bring your hands back to the blocks. And as you push your fingers back, your hands back, you're bringing your breastbone forward. Whoa. Feel that in a lot of places. Good. And then exhale, release, come forward. Bring your blocks down onto the floor between your left leg and your right hand. And then you're going to see if you can come down. So first variation, knee is in line. So I hang out here. It's tighter on this side for me, so I'm having difficulty getting my right elbow down, but yeah, there we go. As I hang in here, now I'm going to turn my foot and allow my knee to come out to the side, but keeping my foot active and not sickling the ankle. And there we go. Whoa. Breathe in here. Enjoy this action that we have. And then come on up. All right, and you're gonna place your right hand on your blocks, the left hand on your hip. You're gonna, it's kind of a twist, kind of a rollout. And we're rotating through the rib cage, pushing the hand into the block. Again, talking about that, you push your hand out, it actually helps release the spine. And then maybe bringing your arm up towards the ceiling. Make sure you bring your head and your upper body back so that the tailbone and the top of your head are in line. I could do this, but it's not as good as doing this. Feel totally different when I do that, which is bring the body back, okay? And then come back into your lunge. And we didn't do this on the other side, but like I said, you could do this whole thing with the leg up. It's just, it's challenging. So just bring your leg up just to see how that feels in the hip. And what I'm discovering is psoas is very tight. Whew. All right, come on out. And move your block aside. That was under your knee. So hopefully you had the proper props to do that. So next, we're going to do another little kind of movement exercise. We're going to go into like a pigeon pose, but we're going to keep switching the left and the right side. So you're going to take your right leg out in front and your left leg back. And, you know, this is the thing when we go into pigeon pose, we tend to always focus on the front leg and we forget about the back leg, but the back leg is very important in this pose. So I'm going to come into a pigeon pose, and because I don't want to be resting on my right hip, I'm going to lift my body up, and then I'm going to take my body back down, switch legs, oops, and draw the right leg back. I had to use my brain there to figure that out. Okay, so now I'm going here. I'm going to in order to switch legs, I'm coming, my hip is not touching the ground here, and I'm trying to be level to the, I'm going to let the hip come down, and bring my right leg in front and my left leg back. So it's this action of doing this, right leg forward, left leg back, this movement that I'm focusing on right now. And I'm finishing the movement. I'm not rushing so much that I don't get the leg back, okay? So do what you can do here. And I'm going to go again. Now, the other thing, once you get into the pose, try to take your body back instead of forward. And we'll do it again. Take that leg back. Ooh. And then one more time, left side. I don't know where I started from, so hopefully just if you could just end having done both sides equally. I don't really worry about it too much in my home practice. All right, that was big, wasn't it? So, and revealing, sometimes these movements are really revealing as to what's happening in our body. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is Baddha Konasana as well. And I'm going to sit up on a little blanket just so I make sure that I get into that neutral pelvis. Bring the soles of your feet together in sitting Baddha Konasana. Push the outer heels together and place either your hands or your forearms on your knees. Draw the knees up into the forearms and the forearms down into the knees. Hold that contraction, that P and F, for like 5 seconds. This is how we help ourselves go a little further, and then release that and just see, could you get a little further in the pose? Do you feel a little bit more open? What is opening and what is not? And we'll do it one more time. Push in, elbows into knees, knees into elbows, pushing the feet together. And then exhale, release. How does that feel? And then let's do one more time. So pushing forearms down and up, knees up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. Whew, okay, take your knees and your hands to your knees and straighten the legs into Dandasana. Sit up really nice and tall. And we'll take the legs out into Uttanasana Konasana, forward bend. And again, I've got my blanket here, so already I know my pelvis is tilting. Push through the balls of the feet and the heels, be very active with what's going on, and lengthen, lift and lengthen as you come forward. So this is where we're feeling the stretch, the inner groins. And remember this technique of actually getting down into that, find that bar that's down there, that tight inner groin muscle, and work it with your fingers, massage it a little bit, even rub a little firmly in there, and then see if that helps you go a little bit further. And remember, it's easy to come down, but if you lengthen first and engage the core, push the thighs down, lift the kneecaps up, push out through the ball. It changes the whole nature of the pose when we add these little techniques or triggers or whatever we want to call it. Get that inner inner groin, throne, I said, I don't know what that was all about, inner groin towards the pubic bone, and take the lower muscle and draw it towards the knee. Push your legs down, your thighs down. Get long in the spine. Maybe take your hands out in front if that feels better for you. And as you take your hands out in front, push your hands back here. Okay, good. And then come on out. Using your hands, bend the knee and come into Dandasana. Okay, excellent. All right, so we're going to go into pigeon pose next. Those of you who have knee issues, at home you have options. One option is to use a table, your bed, and do it from a standing point of view. Another option is to lie down on your back and bring the knee in towards the chest. You're taking the knee out. What we want to do is we want to bring the ankle forward as we bring the knee away, and then maybe even hug that leg in towards the chest. So, you have those options, but if you're doing pigeon pose on the floor, feel free to use a prop. You can use a bolster, or you can use a block underneath the front hip if getting down low is an issue for you, okay? You can also just use a blanket. Maybe you're kind of in between a bolster or a block. So whatever, it's going to go under your right buttock cheek as you bring your right foot forward. Okay. So whatever you need underneath there, I've got a blanket on top of a block, which is probably just like a bolster. And then I want you to focus on this back leg, push your heel back, lift up. See how I'm lifting up? And turn the left hip down towards the floor. You want the hips to be as level as possible. And my foot is in like lunge pose, okay? It's not sickled, it's not relaxed, it's active. And then I want you to focus a little bit on the back foot, curl your toes under, and really extend the heel away from you before you drop that leg down. There's an internal rotation of this leg, not an external. So if your hip is up here, coming away from your right hip, if your left hip is up, then that is what you need to work on. Okay, so you roll that hip down. And then, as I said before, in the lunges, there's a tendency always to want to drop down. And honestly, that feels pretty good. But what I want you to do is walk up. So I want you to try to take your hand on your knee or hand on a block, whatever you have available, and draw the tailbone down, the pubic bone up, and come back in this pigeon pose. Okay. And if I'd been smart there, would have had another block to use. So I'm going to actually take my blocks out in front. Now, the thing is, what I would like to do is stay here a bit in this pose. I don't want to rush it, because it's kind of the primer for what we're going to do next. So I've got this happening, got my foot, and I've got my blocks, and I'm lifting up, drawing the left hip forward. Knee is out to the side of the hip, the right knee, and I am supporting that back, that heel. I even put one of my balls underneath my right heel to keep it up. Okay, so here we are, and we're lifting and lifting and lifting. The back foot pushes into the floor, and like I said, the left hip slides forward, the whole leg slides forward, and hopefully you're getting some kind of a stretch on the hip flexor. And lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Then, if you'd like to come forward, you may, and you might find that you are getting a stretch in the piriformis on this right side. Sacrum should be level. So I'm not getting a stretch with my block underneath there. So I'm going to actually walk back a little bit and get a stretch there. Now this, should not hurt the knee. If it hurts the knee, it's because you're not activating the foot and keeping it flexed. And as soon as I relax my foot, I did it as a little experiment here, and I've been walking and feeling a little twinge in my knee, and that does not help it. So keeping the foot flexed is where you're at. You may not go down as far. You may need, more support. You might need that block back. Better to support yourself than have a sore knee. Okay. So yeah, and we tend to, again, poses that are hard for us, we tend to come out early. And why? Maybe those are the poses we actually need to stay in a little bit longer. Yeah, so the more I keep my leg engaged, my foot engaged, and keep that like I'm in lunge pose, that front leg, the healthier it is for my knee, and I feel that. Okay, lots of work, right? Let's come out and do the other side. So, going to start with a blanket on this side, and I know my left and right side are different. I'm actually going to, yeah, I think I'm going to use this block again. All right, so I come forward, oops, bring that leg over, rest the buttock, the left buttock on the block, activate my foot here, and bring the knee out to the side, and then walk the back leg back. This knee is totally different. And then I've got my hands on my block because what I want to do is bring the body up and back. So my breastbone is lifting, collarbone. I mean, let's start back at the pubic bone. Pubic bone to belly should lift. Belly button to lower ribs to upper ribs to sternum, sternum to collarbone. And then it's all about your neck. If you're going to bring your head back, make sure you're bringing it back from the top, your occipital bone, not in the middle of the neck. Push through this back foot. If the foot is down, and again, not sickled, but down, push your foot down in and draw that whole leg forward. As you push the knee and the front leg down in the front, lift up. Draw your shoulder blades down. And then exhale and release. And now you might want to come forward. As you come forward, draw your tailbone away from your head, engage the core, push that leg down, push the back leg down, slide it isometrically forward, even if you have your toes curled under, and draw forward. Okay. Good. And then exhale and come on out. All right. And again, when you redo this video at home, stay even longer, stay longer in that pose. Okay, so we're going to do next, what we were leading up to is Hanuman pose, which is basically the splits, which most of us can't do. And we're not expecting to do that. It's really about the journey going down. And it's really that combination of lunge pose and pigeon pose that we need to do. So I want to be able to slide my feet a little bit. So I'm going to be on my yoga mat here. And what I want 2 blocks. I think I'm going to use, yeah, I'll just use a blanket and I'll just fold it. Because at home, yeah, you know, you can use a bolster though too. And I got my 2 blocks out in front. Okay, so we're going to start with the right leg, and we're going to take the right leg in front. And I'm going to support my thigh, my upper thigh, on this blanket that I have out in front. And I'm going to have my blocks here, and I'm going to use them on the high side. So I'm in a lunge, basically, is what I am. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten this front leg and slide my heel forward. I'm having to wiggle it because it doesn't really slide. This is actually something you could do on the floor, but then you might go too far into your splits. Okay, so sliding the heel forward. And my hip now is nowhere near this blanket. So I'm going to actually put in another blanket because I want the length, or I want the height in order to rest. So I've got another blanket here, or pillows, whatever you want. So I could rest that thigh on it. Then I'm going to walk my foot back again. Oh, so here's an interesting thing too, when I was wiggling my foot. When you're doing this pose, what you're wanting to do is you're stretching the hamstring in the front, right? You're stretching the hip flexor in the back, and the back leg has to work. So it has to push down into the floor. And you're up on your blocks, okay? And you can be up way high. You can even do this with 2 chairs. Actually, if you put your hands on one chair and the other chair instead of the blocks, you're gonna be up like this, right? So when we go into this, you know, splits or Hanuman pose, you actually shouldn't be leaning over. You should be way up here. So 2 chairs work really well. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna I have my front leg straight. And ideally, if I was really open, and able to do this pose, I would have my back leg straight, but I'm using the back leg today for leverage. So I'm going to push the top of my foot, my back foot into the floor. And I'm going to push my heel into the floor, and I'm going to squeeze the two of them together. And as I squeeze them together, you're going to feel lots of activation in the psoas and in the hip. So I'm squeezing, bring the outer hips in. You can even lift up if you want and do that squeeze if you don't want the knee on the floor. And then exhale and release everything that you're holding and just see if you go any further. Do it again. My back knee is actually, I need a blanket under my back knee. Squeeze them together, exhale and release. And squeeze together. I had to bend my knee for a second because my tights are pushing into my knee and I have a sensitive spot on my knee. There we go. Okay, here we go. All right, and then again, squeeze the back leg and the front leg together, heel to knee together. Squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it. Get up as far as you can go, and then release. Woo. See if you can go a little bit further in your split. All right, and then come on out. Woo, that's hard work. I hope I'm not working you all too hard today. Well, one thing about these poses, everything that we're doing today is really good for the pelvic floor, because when we think of pelvic floor, we always think sort of the middle of our body, but the pelvic floor, is kind of a triangle shape. And in these edges of the triangle for men and women, the pelvic floor gets tight. And these poses that we're doing today help release that part of the pelvic floor, okay? So they're all good. All right, we're gonna change sides. So again, have my prop set up. And this time I'm pretty sure I had my right foot forward. Should be able to tell, but so this time I'm gonna have, maybe I didn't, maybe I had my left foot forward. Okay, either way, take the opposite foot forward. Yeah, I would have felt this. Okay, so straighten the front leg if you can. Push the heel into the floor, down. I'm pushing the heel down. The back foot is pushing in, and then I'm trying to close the 2 feet together. So, or really it's more specifically my left heel and my right knee are trying to come together. I hold that contraction. I try to come up as nice and tall as I can, pubic bone up, tailbone down, feeling lots going on here. I'm nowhere close to the splits. Then I release that, walk the foot out a little bit. Woo, yes, I found an opening there. Okay, do it again. Contract, draw in. Left foot back, right knee forward. But don't forget that back foot. It's really important for that psoas in the back leg. And then release. Woo, and then come down a little further and see, can I do that again? Squeeze in, squeeze the outer hips, lift the belly and try to come up nice and tall. Oh my gosh, yes. It's all good for the body. Okay, and then exhale and release. And then come on out. All right. Let's move your props aside. Let's do downward dog. So everything we did today was to help us into that sort of master pose, that Hanuman, which is a totally difficult pose. Most people, we're not, maybe going to do that. But if you practice every day, actually, you would probably get there in about, I bet you in about 10 to 15 days, you'll see a real difference. So maybe that's what we should make a challenge. Maybe we should have a pose of the month and we practice it every day. Okay, so that might be a good idea. All right, so here we go. Downward dog. And then let's take our right foot forward and lunge. Let's straighten that leg. Oh my gosh. And staying down on the low side. Again, lengthen the breastbone forward, come over that front leg, drop the back heel. Bend the front knee, take your hands down the floor, come back into downward dog. Whew. Did a lot of walking on the weekend, had a nice long walk yesterday. All right, straighten the front leg, and I'm feeling it in my hamstrings and my glutes. Whew. Come over that front leg, squeeze the abdomen and the thigh together. Draw the feet together, just like you did it in the Hanuman, the splits. Get those actions going, squeeze the outer hips, bend the front knee, go back into downward dog. Whew. I know I'm running out of time. But doesn't your body feel good? And then come on down and we'll do a puppy pose. So keeping hips and knees in alignment, walk forward. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. See if you can maybe drop your head to the floor. Open up through the armpits. And then, we usually start our practice here. Let's end our practice here in Adho Mukha Virasana. Remember to take not the knees, don't take them so wide that you can't support the sides of your body, because that's what helps you lengthen. Come on down. Oh my gosh. Tailbone down, belly in and up. Squeeze your calves and your hamstrings together. Push your shin bones down into the floor. Open up through the armpits. Come up into spider fingers if you want. And then walk back. And unfortunately, our time is up. So let's go into Shavasana. And I apologize for going over, but get comfortable in Shavasana. I would recommend perhaps bolster under the knees, just to let the psoas relax, or even legs up on a chair. Just let your psoas, these hip creases, relax in our Shavasana. And come to whatever's comfortable for you. Lying down. Pretty active practice today. I don't know about you, but I'm sweating. My room is so warm here. But I think it's actually more internal, all the work that we did. Won't need my big heavy sweater today. So lie down, find what's comfortable for you. Tune into your body. What are you feeling? It'd be interesting too if you just brought your feet together into Baddha Konasana and see if your Baddha Konasana feels different. And with that, again, just think of relaxing the pelvic floor. Focus on the breath and moving the rib cage with the breath. So just feel like as you inhale, the rib cage expands, and on the exhale, it releases. Allow yourself to let go. Again, it's just staying in this present moment, this delicious moment of Shavasana. Taking this moment to appreciate the breath, be grateful for it, and visualize how the breath cleanses every part of your body. It boosts your immune system, helps your digestion, helps you release tension in every muscle of your body. Use the breath. Use the breath as a tool to let go of anything that you're holding on to. I am letting go. Be specific. I am letting go of tension in my neck. I am letting go of tension in my shoulders. Maybe not even just tension, maybe pain. I'm letting go of tension and pain in my shoulders. I'm letting go of any tension I'm experiencing in my sternum, my chest. I am letting go of any tension that I'm holding in the diaphragm. So many people can't breathe because the tightness in the diaphragm. Move the ribs outwards as well as front and back. Feel that dimensional expansion of the ribs. I'm letting go of tension in the belly. There's always, when we're stressed, some tension in the belly. Bring your awareness to the hips and ask them to release. Say, I'm letting go of tension in my hips. And I'm letting go of tension in my legs, tension and pain in the knee. I'm letting that go. And in the ankle. I am letting go. Focus on your inhalation and your exhalation. Feeling as you relax a deeper connection with the ground beneath you. Allow yourself to be still. Quiet and present. When you are ready, of course, you're at home, so you can stay longer in the pose in Shavasana. But if you're ready, before you come out today, what I'd like you to do is put your feet back into Baddha Konasana again. Just see after relaxation how that feels, and also focus on your pelvic floor and allow the pelvic floor to relax. And then when you're ready, roll over onto your right side if you want to come up, and use your hands for support and slowly come up to sitting. Roll your body. And when you're ready, bring your hands to your heart. Namaste. Go out and enjoy this beautiful day. And look, I'm going to be sending out a newsletter with I'm writing a series on the gut, and it's got some good, interesting information in there. So I'll be sending that out today or tomorrow, and then that'll be part 1, and then it'll be part 2 tomorrow. And so it's all about gut health, and very feeling that so many of our issues come from our gut and that we need to address. And so yeah, and then I'm thinking maybe we can do some kind of challenge. Give me some ideas of what you'd like to see. And we can start maybe a little health challenge to get us ready for spring and summer. So again, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for all of you joining me. Yes, you're keeping my business afloat and keeping me sane. So thank you so very much. Have a great day. If you want to stay and ask any questions, or if you want to have any comments about today's practice, or just anything in life in general, I will stick around. So I'm going to turn off the recording. I know it got really sunny here again. I really have to think about changing my venue. All right, but I